We've all heard the stories, or maybe lived them. A profound, undeniable spark with someone who treats us terribly. We often mistake this immediate, intense pull for destiny, labeling it as soulmate connection. To understand why we fall for the wrong people, we have to look at the earliest months of human development. Psychologist John Bowlby proposed that infants possess an innate drive to form emotional bonds with their primary caregivers. Through these early interactions, the developing brain writes an internal working model, a hidden cognitive blueprint that codes our baseline definition of love, safety, and interpersonal reliability. If caregiving is consistent and responsive, the child internalizes a model of relationships as safe. But if caregiving is unpredictable or conditional, the infant's brain permanently encodes those toxic traits as familiar. Building on this blueprint, Mary Ainsworth's research identified distinct attachment styles that carry directly into adulthood. We can categorize adult relational behaviors into three primary profiles: the secure attachment style, the anxious attachment style, and the avoidant attachment style. These styles frequently collide in the anxious-avoidant trap. In this dynamic, an anxious partner's chronic fear of abandonment causes them to cling tightly. This highly demanding behavior triggers the avoidant partner's compulsive need for distancing. The avoidant partner pulls away, which only intensifies the anxious partner's panic, locking them into a tragic, endless cycle of pursuit and retreat. That magnetic chemistry we feel at the beginning of a toxic relationship is rarely destiny. It is our nervous system recognizing the familiar emotional climate of our childhood blueprint. Moving into adulthood, we have to ask why we actively choose partners who recreate our earliest pain. Sigmund Freud provided a framework for this paradox through a concept he called the repetition compulsion. In his 1920 monograph, Beyond the Pleasure Principle, Freud observed that humans possess an unconscious drive to continuously replay highly distressing childhood experiences. In romantic selection, this compulsion means we unconsciously hunt for mates who exhibit the specific limitations or pathologies of our original caregivers. A person raised by an emotionally deprived parent will repeatedly partner with someone who is distant and highly critical. The unconscious mind follows a hidden, flawed logic. It believes that if we can successfully win the love of an abusive or unavailable partner today, we can retroactively heal the original wound inflicted by our caregiver in the past. Repeatedly falling for the wrong person is not a symptom of low intelligence or conscious self-sabotage. It is a misguided attempt at psychological repair. Because the new partner shares the exact flaws of the original caregiver, the attempt at mastery fails, and the individual is simply re-traumatized. The psychological drive to fix the past is weaponized by neurobiology. Toxic relationships rely heavily on a behavioral conditioning schedule known as intermittent reinforcement, where cruelty is unpredictably mixed with sudden affection. This chart compares the steady, predictable dopamine baseline of a healthy relationship against the wild, volatile spikes generated by intermittent reinforcement. When an abusive partner abruptly shifts from cruelty to extreme kindness, the victim's brain releases massive, unnatural surges of dopamine. The brain quickly becomes hooked, not on the affection itself, but on the anxious anticipation of the reward. This unpredictable schedule makes the dopamine flow much more readily, completely overriding the brain's capacity for rational decision-making. This convergence of intermittent reinforcement and danger creates a trauma bond. This is a potent biochemical attachment formed when dopamine, the anticipation of reward, mixes with oxytocin, the bonding hormone, while under severe physiological distress. The loop links survival instincts directly to the abuser. During an abusive episode, the victim's nervous system floods with stress hormones. When the abuser finally ceases the cruelty and offers comfort, the victim's traumatized brain misidentifies the source of their terror as their ultimate savior. The inability to walk away from an abusive partner is rarely a failure of willpower. It is a severe neurochemical hijacking that artificially disguises terror, manipulation, and survival responses as devoted love. Highly sensitive people face an additional psychological hurdle called toxic empathy, a vulnerability that keeps them firmly locked inside the abuse loop. Empathetic individuals possess a deep capacity for understanding, but in a toxic dynamic, they prioritize emotional resonance over moral accountability. When a manipulative partner causes harm, the victim utilizes the abuser's past trauma to soften accountability, allowing bad behavior to slip from explanation into complete justification. This horizontal bar chart visualizes a 2025 study by Lippmann identifying 9 distinct elements of romantic chemistry. While elements like comfort and mutuality are healthy, notice the red flags. An unexplainable spark and an intense fixation are hyper-present in toxic dynamics. The brain makes a catastrophic misinterpretation here. It conflates the physiological panic of potential abandonment, a racing heart, hyperventilation, and obsessive thoughts with the exhilaration of true romance. Breaking this cycle requires decoupling physiological arousal from the concept of love. You have to implement a strict relationship filter that evaluates a partner based on emotional consistency, shared values, and nervous system regulation, rather than acute chemistry. For someone whose baseline for love was built in chaos, this presents a difficult paradox. A genuinely secure, healthy partner will initially feel incredibly boring. Because a secure partner is predictable and reliable, they fail to trigger the high arousal trauma responses the individual has been conditioned to crave. Overcoming the repetition compulsion demands the courage to rewire your nervous system. You must learn to recognize that the absence of anxiety is not a lack of chemistry, it is the presence of peace. What patterns in your own life are you ready to break? Let us know in the comments below.